Another thing that I think is really fascinating, I would say, about the book Frankenstein, is that a lot of the smarminess that you see in the New Age community, the New Age spiritual community of combining science and religion, or spirituality and science, even though these things might seem very glamorous and they might seem wonderful on the surface, and they always have these sort of nefarious undertones. But you can see a much older version of that. Probably I would argue it goes back to really ancient roots that you see in the era of Frankenstein, when they, as I think I mentioned before, that a lot of these inventors believed that they could just run electricity through dead bodies. Like in real life, people actually thought this when Mary Shelley was alive. This is where she got it from, and they could just bring them to life that way. They'd see their horrible bodies twitching, and it was awful. But there's a lot of questions, as in my own mind, as to whether they really were that stupid, or there was some other kind of perversion, some twisted thing going on. As you have to wonder about, and people maybe in the upper classes and the nobility. Was it just deception? You don't really know. But as I was saying earlier, I think that the flaws that you see in the New Age community pass over into the older eras, where people were combining the occult and science, and even said this actually in these exact words in the documentary that I watched recently. And I think another thing that is very puzzling to me about the story is that I never know whether Mary Shelley herself really believed that these things were possible, or whether she was really, as I was saying, warning people, or perhaps creating a kind of phenomenon in the story that might, on the surface, seem like it has to do with Dr. Frankenstein's experiment, but really it was actually forces that were intervening in his life, completely irrelevant to whether or not he had ran the electricity through the dead body or not. That somehow these forces had known about him, known about his intentions, and were intervening. And it almost feels like some sort of spiritual retribution going on in this story. And we see this kind of story a lot, where the statue comes to life, or the gravestone talks, or whatever, and I think it also, if you think about it, it does actually make more sense when you look at it from that perspective, versus Mary Shelley simply believing in pseudoscience and trying to warn people about the so-called dangers of bringing something to life, when it's not something. I get the sense that she knew that it wasn't even really possible. But perhaps it is possible that there could be forces in the universe that could play on the arrogance of the average person. And I think at its core, that might really be what's going on in this story. But that's open to debate, I think.